Well, happy Wednesday to you, viewer. That's right, you are not hallucinating. This is a Wednesday live stream, a special scheduling thing. I appreciate you for being flexible, Christian. And James, I'm stoked that it worked out that you were able to hop on and join us here as well. I'm the Long Box Punk. My name is Chris, but that doesn't matter because we're here to talk about these two creators right here. I got that right. Perfect. Together, they form Fugitive Poems Fugitive Poems comics or just Fugitive Poems?
Fugitive Poems.
Perfect. See, I know what I'm talking about. I promise. Together they make Fugitive Poems, and they've got a current Kickstarter that has 14 hours left called Blood Valkyrie in Vegas. It is fully funded. It funded in the first 48 hours, right?
Yeah, it did.
That's outstanding.
About that. Yeah.
So we'll be talking about that. We're going to get into what it takes to run a publishing house. We're going to talk all sorts of stuff, and we're probably going to talk music as well, because that tends to come up here on this show. But first, as any good comic book, I want to know the origin story. How did you guys both get into comics? Like, how did you meet? Where did Fugitive Poems come from? I want to know all the things.
James, you want to start?
All right. Yeah, I met this Palooka at our job. So we started working together, and we were kind of casual office friends, say hi in the hallway and so forth. Christian started talking with a colleague of mine. I was working in the design department. We worked at Christian still does. We both had worked at a college. So I was in the design department and Christian was in the English department. So he had started talking to my buddy Mike at work about doing a comic, and Christian said, he's written a lot of stuff, but he's never tried to write for comics. So he wrote something for Mike. This is Mike Gracia, who also has a show on comics too. What's it called? Get in Tune. On YouTube. Fun guy. So anyways, Christian wrote him a script, and he made the mistake of leaving it on his desk. So I scapped up the script, and I really enjoyed it. And so that, we had become more friendly by then. That's why I took the script and I drew the very first comic panel that I ever drew, and the very first illustration Christian ever had done of his comic. This was back, I think 2015.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was our first crack at it. And we've been going at it ever since.
That's right.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm a lifelong comic fan, and James grew up with Heavy Metal Magazine and all that. James, don't correct me if I'm wrong, but he was never a deep comic book fan. We talked about that one day, and he goes, I never really had. That's my favorite thing James ever said today. I never really had time for that, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And I'm like, yeah, I was reading comics. But I had wanted to be a comic book artist until the day I had the very clear revelation that I had less than any comic drawing talent or artistic talent. Or my stick figures, I can't put the legs in the right place. They all look like overly well endowed men. The midline goes too long. So I always wanted to write stories, and I started writing novels and short stories and screenplays, and then Michael Gracia knew that about me and asked me if I'd write a comic for him, the gentleman that James talking about. And I tried my hand at scripts for the first time, and it was amazing because I went back to my roots. I don't know why it had never occurred to me to write comics. I was just so discouraged when I couldn't draw them. And then James drew that fortuitous, beautiful panel, the first thing ever drawn of my own work. And we went from there. We've been making comics ever since, and sort of cutting our teeth and learning both the artistic end and the business end. You look at the decisions you've made in your life, and you can say, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that. But I look at everything that led me to meeting James. And because of James, my dreams have telling stories are coming true. So this has been an ideal brotherhood and partnership.
That's awesome. I love that. For like, James, did you ever think that you were going to be doing like comic book sequential artwork?
No, I never really considered it. I wasn't really against comics. I never had friends that were into that. A lot of my friends, we were into music and I don't know, doing terrible things to ourselves. I was never, I never had a friend or an older brother or something that would have gotten me into it. But I do really like the medium. I think it's really suited to my style, which is gonzo. Just, it's kind of nuts. Like people always say, "Oh, I really like your artwork, but I wouldn't want to hang it in my living room," So it was always something that I've always drawn this crazy stuff. I've done a couple of album covers and stuff like that. But the comic medium is, I should say in particular, the indie comic medium just allows you to fully express yourself in any way. There's a lot of garbage out there, but there's also a lot of amazing stuff in the indie world that I do enjoy looking at the artwork, Marvel and DC and Image and so forth. But it's really cool to see this sort of art form still alive and kicking. Yeah, I would say the only one that's comparable to it, although there's a big mainstream thing, is animation. Animation can give you a lot of freedom as well.
Yeah.
But of course, there's always that fight between the commercialism of the medium versus the passion for it. So we're trying to thread that line, and of course, like Christian said, we're trying to also learn some of the business end, which is just as important and terrible. There's nothing that me or Christian really like, although we have a new sort of he's our senior editor, but he's really our partner, Mark Capitelli. I keep wanting to say decapitator, so that's what I call it. He's got a bit more business acumen. We're not saying that he's a Steve Jobs, but compared to Christian and I, pretty much anyone has more business acumen. And then we also have a new marketing person who has taken over a lot of our social media stuff, which neither of us, both being Gen Xers, are not real passionate about. Christian's been more into it because he kind of had to. That's the game these days. But it's really nice to have Chan, our business person.
Chandler Kid.
That's cool.
Really cool person.
So when you I think it's interesting how you wanted to make comics together, and you started making comics, and then we're like, well, now we have to figure out the business side of it. Like, how did you start figuring out that side of indie comics?
I think, yeah, go ahead, Kirsten.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, we started, and this is actually more in Christian's realm because he was, he really pushed a lot of stuff on Twitter, which is now X, of course. I think we learned a lot from mentors that we had, and just kind of looking at what other people were doing in the fishbowl, and trying to mold ourselves after them as far as the business side went. And eventually, we did kind of figure out also that not only that we don't know anything, but a lot of other artists don't know anything either. So we were, in some cases, we molded ourselves on people that were just kind of in the same fishbowl we were. I still wouldn't say we've solved that dilemma, but we're kind of on the path. I think a wise person will learn to delegate, especially when they don't really have that grasp on it themselves. I think that's one thing in business that we've learned is get people that know it. It's funny when we talk to a business person who's in business for themselves or, has a business type job, they'll, we'll come up with some question that has hounded us, right? And they just come up with like 1-2 minute answer. And we're like, oh yeah, that's right. That's what we should be doing.
Yeah.
So,
We've been pretty lucky. A dear friend of ours, Stevie Amin, took an interest in what we were doing as well and has become a business manager and member of our executive board. And, I guess sort of like your slow cousin, and you're proud of them when they figure out something basic. I'm proud of James and I for what we did and what we accomplished. We just want to make comics. I have ridiculous, wild, insane, probably unhealthy ideas, and I write them. James sees them and makes them unhealthier and weirder, and we have a great, and that's all I want to do. I'm not, I I wouldn't turn down $1 million for any reason, but I write because I love writing. And I'm always writing something, a novel or a comic, or I'm always writing something, or I'm not happy. But the fact is that we love it so much that we want to do it full time. And we said, all right, well, to do that, we got to figure out the business end of it, because we can keep churning out comics and being happy even if no one saw them, but the day job gets in the way, So we accomplished a lot, just the two of us, and we brought Mark on. And then Steve got involved, and Chan got involved, and it's growing. We've got an executive board now, and it's growing. And we got all the right people around us. We know who to ask what questions to, and we are attracting and working with some incredible talents, which has always been one of our goals from the start, was to raise the flags of all these great. There's so many great indie creators out there who no one knows about. People like Jay Sheik. Who should be working for Marvel, should be throwing money at them on their knees, begging for him. And, and he's really succeeded in a great deal recently. We want to raise the flags of all these people and ourselves. And that's been actually the goal of our anthology series, was to say, all right, we got a theme on this book. Look what these people and us did with it. And how fucking cool is that? And that's really what we've been working on.
That's awesome. And that's the magic that I didn't always have the appreciation for with the anthologies, is you get introduced to so many creative teams or individual creators that are doing both writing and illustrating, that then a lot of times, a lot of the people that I now, follow through Kickstarter and on social media, I found through their story in an anthology. And I was like, that was a kick-ass story. What else do they do? What else are they putting out? And so to be taking chances on new creators and inviting them in, that's why indie comics are so special, because there's people that are just like, we all got to start somewhere, so let's just start together. And totally love it. And it reminds me of the anthology CDs that used to come out, where it was like a record label, right? And they were like, we have all these small bands and they're all really good. Yeah. And so here's all their music. And then you're like, I didn't really like this one, but these other 3 bands, for sure, I'm going to follow. And 4 years, 5 years on the streets, Give 'Em the Boots, the Punkorama albums, those types of anthologies, Punk Rock Is Your Friend, those were the ones that when I was listening to those, I would much rather buy one of those, because I got exposed to 30 different bands on them. And for some reason that didn't click with me with comics until the last 5 years, where now I'm like, yeah, give me an anthology. I like who I'm following, but I want to find more people, especially when it's got a cool theme. So is it with what you guys are doing with Fugitive, are you doing stuff with the two of you as the creative team, and also running several other things at the same time? What does your publishing schedule look like?
Yeah, I'll answer that in a second, but I got to go back to something you said. The way you're talking about these, and I remember these great anthology albums, I handled, and I just isn't I'm a huge movie buff, and it just isn't the same anymore. The focus on new music in the movie industry has gone. In the 80s and 90s, I would buy movie soundtracks for
Yeah.
the reason. I mean, the first thing that came to mind is Encino Man, believe it or not, and the Bill and Ted movies. They were great rock bands, yes, that
Yeah.
weren't getting a lot of play. I mean, I found Tora that way, who never got
Mhm.
much, but they were great. A lot of really cool bands were on
Yeah.
these soundtracks, and yeah, there you go. And so I know exactly, and I got a when I was young, I was getting into the blues, and I got a blues collection from a record label. It was all these different upcoming blues groups, and it was really cool.
That's cool.
As far as our publishing schedule, we've the Crow soundtrack, punk rock, Chris.
Yeah, man.
Holy crap! What a soundtrack! Oh my gosh,
It's
amazing!
funny what goes around comes around. I got a brand new cassette tape from the Northman.
Oh
That's
really?
The
awesome.
soundtrack. Yeah, I mean, it's funny, to see these out for sale again.
Oh, that's wild.
That's so
Yeah.
cool.
It's great music too. Like all these like kind of cool folkish instruments that I didn't even know existed and so forth. It's great.
Yeah.
If you're
I would
looking
highly
for
recommend it.
if you're looking for a forgotten '90s soundtrack, the soundtrack to the movie 2 Days in the Valley is awesome.
Mm.
Just throwing that out there, and it's a great movie too. Totally forgotten.
See,
Charlize Theron's first big film,
okay.
and she is hotter than life in it.
I was gonna say less, my friend.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. She's smoking in that movie. So we decided to do something that really nobody else is doing. When we looked around to make sure this was for real, we decided to put a subscription service only available on our website. And we've got
Okay.
our first comic out on it. Issue 2 is about to drop of Dirty Living. It's by writer Stephen Betcha and artist Ryan Santos. Keith Gleason is a letterer on issue 1. James a letterer on issue 2. We've got guest artist Jack Van Tomey on it. And it's a supernatural noir that is, our motif. It's batshit crazy. And when we saw what these guys were doing, we were like, yes, we want to produce this. And issue 2 is about to come out. You go to our website, you click on Dirty Living, and it's $2.99 an issue every 3 months. So you subscribe every 3 months. It's $2.99, and you get a new issue. And these are unbelievable. I'm having such a great time. It's so cool because we didn't create this. We're editing it, or James, the art editor, art director. I'm the editor on the project, editor in chief. But it's Stephen and Ryan putting this together, and it's tremendous. We've got another group, and I can't say their name yet because the paper isn't signed yet, but they were in Containment Breach Volume 4. No, 3, sorry. And they're two brothers, and they blew us out of the water. James and I have 3 stories in that book, and our favorite story in that book is theirs.
That's awesome.
They're tremendous. So if you have Containment Breach 3, you can figure this out, the brother team. And they're coming to our subscription service. And so we've got that going on. James, we have a series called River, which is a sci-fi horror series with a lot of humor in it. It's about a drug dealer who gets his hands on a time machine and 6 Pennsylvania cops who are being hurtled through space and time with no clue how to stop him or what the hell's going on. So we released issue 1 of that. James drew that and I wrote it. We also are working on something called Stripper Clip Sally. There's River. That's River issue 1 right there. I love that cover so much.
This is our first Christian and I, our first full length issue that we've done. So extra proud of this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can go to fugitivepoems.com and order your copy now. And then we have James is working on another series that was just the 2 of us called Stripper Clip Sally. And that's coming. But in the meantime, while we were working on that, I started working with Alex Zapata on another script I had written called Blood Valkyrie in Vegas. And that's the Kickstarter that has What do we say? Hold on. 14 hours to go. Go on Kickstarter. Look for Blood. Go to Fugitive. Look for Fugitive Poems on Kickstarter or Blood Valkyrie. It comes right up. And we funded in 48 hours. Alex Zapata is the artist on this. Tom Linen is the letterer. So while James and I were working on River and then Stripper Clip Sally, I was working on Blood Valkyrie in Vegas with Alex and Tom. And so this is what we've been. We're in production mode. We're making stuff. We're putting it out there. We've got a schedule going. We're trying to produce other people to raise their flags and put more of our own individual stuff out there. There's going to be another volume of Containment Breach coming. So we're not abandoning the anthology form at all because it's fun and we love it. But we're really working to put a lot of shit out there. And it's exhausting, but it's the kind of exhaustion you cherish. It's like, I'm doing it. We're doing what we wanted to do. And it's not just me writing a novel and then forgetting to send it to an agent and it exists on my computer. This is out in the world. It's in comic shops. We do signings. And it's incredible. It really is. It's a living dream, which is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the gym rats after they get a really good pump at the gym. Like they're sore, but it's that good kind of sore. I'm not a gym rat.
I've never experienced it.
Yeah, I don't know what that's like either, but I do know like that you get to, you look at the clock and you worked an 8-hour day. And last week my wife was on vacation, like at a work trip thing out of town, whatever. So it was just me and the dog. And so like I would get done with my regular job, shut that laptop, open my personal one and get straight to writing and working and building Kickstarter pages and all that stuff. And by the time I realized what was happening, I was like, oh, it's 12:45 in the morning. Like I gotta work in 8 hours. Like I need to go to bed. But it was that very satisfied exhaustion that it was just like, I'm doing what I want to do. And like, I completely lost that time because I was so entrenched in what I was doing. So I totally get that aspect of it. So
you go to bed and you're like, I'm going to be tired tomorrow, but I just wrote another 20 pages.
Yeah.
That didn't exist before tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. The craft of creating something from nothing, if you're not a creative, it's hard to encapsulate what that feels like. But like, it's definitely something that's like, no, I that came from my brain. Like that just spilled out onto the page and that came out of here. And, then you get your written words, right? And you get it to your artist and then the artist makes it come to life. And then suddenly like James gets your words and makes them into pictures that are even more badass. And then your words continue to tell the story through the dialogue. And then suddenly you have this thing that you're like, this is way cooler than I thought it could ever be.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So is that like spark of energy still the same no matter what format you're writing, whether it's a short for an anthology or a longer, like Blood Valkyrie is it's a one shot, right?
24-page one shot.
Okay.
As violent and sexy as anything you've ever seen. No other company would have the guts or stupidity to put it out. It's rated M. It's a hard M. It's an NC-17. There's a 2-page orgy in it. It's a wild comic. And, that's what James and I want to read. We want to read really, he used the word earlier, gonzo. Out there, wild, the extremes of the imagination, and a lot of our stuff is technically dark, but it's gleefully dark because James and I get such a kick out of it. There's that, it's not quite Tales from the Crypt, not quite Creep Show, but there's a smile deep in it. It's like, does that make you cringe? That's right, it did. James brings that out in his art to the point where when I'm writing, I'm just like, what can I come up with that's so absurd that he's going to have to figure out? And he always
That's awesome. James, have you had stuff that has come from Christian that you're like, Oh, this is tame. I can ratchet this to 11, no problem.
No, he always really challenges me with his stuff. It's always crazy. Thanks. I always tell him that I'm on the FBI list for my Google searches, what I'm doing with him, the things that I'm looking at. But we love it all. It's like a good Quentin Tarantino movie where someone gets their head blasted off and but yet you're still laughing your ass off as it happens. It's sort of a really strange twist on the human psyche that we kind of get into that kind of stuff.
You shot Marvin.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I love horror movies. I wear that on my sleeve. It's the first patch that I made sure was top on the vest was of Jason Voorhees saying "No lives matter," because I think it's just funny. Like I've had dirty looks. My mom was like, "You're gonna have that on your vest where people can see it." I'm like, "Yeah, I am. Yeah, I think it's funny, Mom. It's a video game and a slasher flick put together. Like it's yes." But like I watch horror movies and I have that black sense of humor where certain kills, like the over the top slashers and some of the later Freddy movies, were just so gonzo that it was like, this is so ridiculous and I love it. And I can't help but like get a stupid grin on my face when I know there's about to be a murder in a movie. Cause it's like, you can feel it coming, right? And that tension where my wife is like pulling the blanket slowly higher, my smile is slowly getting bigger because I'm like, here it comes. Yeah, here it comes. This is gonna be awesome. And then like boom, machete pops out of a knife or a throat or something. And I'm like, yes. And she's like, oh God.
You mentioned Jason. I am an unapologetic Jason X fan.
Really?
I think that some of the kills in that movie are so over the top and funny. Starting with when he's still frozen and manages to cut somebody's arm off when he falls over. I think Jason X is, to me, it's like a kitschy love song to that series. It's like we're just gonna get it wild. That's got the sleeping bag kill in it too.
Is that that wasn't the space one?
That's the space one? Yes.
Yeah. That one did reach the highest level of camp.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then like the Freddy versus Jason movie pushed it just like that one step further where you like Freddy was always my favorite slasher just because it was so ridiculous. Like I didn't like the new versions of it because they made him too serious. Like it was too serious.
And that's a boring movie, frankly.
Yeah, like the Nightmare on Elm Street movies from the like seeing Johnny Depp getting killed within like the first 20 minutes, right? Like it's so good. And Freddy's at his best when he's just ridiculous. Like the alleyway where he's got the 74-foot long arms. Like that's not scary. That's weird and funny. And they leaned into it. And the more that they leaned into it, the more that I like them. But yeah, like I think there's a time and place for like Michael Myers is a very like some of those aren't super or as comedic, I think, as Freddy is. But then now you've got like Art the Clown where they're just leaning into like he's psychotic and murdering everybody. And also like he's playing with the bike horn in the prop shop. Like,
yeah.
What with the Daisy sunglasses and stuff? Like, like, okay, dude, you're weird.
The Freddy moment that has haunted me since my childhood, it actually got to me deeply. And because of that, I still don't like this when I watch it, even though I watch it a lot. When he uses, I think it's Dream Warriors, he uses the kid's veins as a marionette.
Yeah.
And just the concept of that. I saw that when I was really young. And I just, that one killed me.
Yep. Yeah, Dream Warriors is one. I think that's the third one. Like that's one that comes up pretty frequently of the like, no, that one's got some really dark imagery in it from the kills that he's got. Yep. But like the first time I saw the claws coming through the sheet and like the hand shooting up around from the first one and
Yeah.
pulling the girl down into it was like, that's terrifying because your bed's supposed to be this safe, protected place.
Yep.
So I don't know, that it laid the groundwork, I think, for me, for like just thinking about why scary movies are scary, like what makes them scary. And like movies like Psycho, why are they so effective? And it's because they're making this very common ground place, like a hotel on the side of the highway, a terrifying place. And now suddenly every time you drive by a hotel, it's like, is that where Norman Bates is? Like there's a big house behind. We're not stopping. We can do another 7 hours. It's fine. We don't need to stop tonight. But like when you're creating comics that lean horror, are you intentionally including like comedic aspects in it, or does that just kind of happen? Like, do you just always put the two together anyway?
I think that's just Christian's style, is the comedy. He's a real funny guy in person. So yeah, I think it just comes naturally. Also him and I we're like two peas in a pod as far as entertainment and so forth. So I think that's why our relationship works so well. Like he'll, I've long since trusted that I can draw something out that he'll love. I used to ask him early on, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And it was always, oh, I love it. So now I just kind of do things as they come along. I don't think there's any intention to it. I think that's just who Christian is, right? He's got that dark side, but he's also got that, sort of real funny side. And I think he writes, like who he is, right?
Do you feel that to be true, Christian?
When I'm writing, I'm so happy. And the darker it gets, the happier I get. And I think it's hard to totally separate out that glee. So I have one screenplay that I wrote that is incredibly, incredibly dark. I'm actually thinking about turning it into a comic. I got some ideas for it. But even that, when I get to the kills, I'm having so much fun, and I wanted to keep the tone dark, and that one is dark, but I know that my people will be going, yeah, that's so fucked up, and I'm here for it. And that's where I'm at. And I mean, I write other things other than horror as well. There's always a sense of humor in what I write because as James said, I like to joke around. I like to have fun. And if you're not having fun, what's the point? And that's kind of what all my stuff has, that element to it, because it's entertainment.
Yeah.
I'm not here to virtue signal. Lord knows if you look at Blood Valkyrie in Vegas, you will know that. I'm not there are things I believe in. All of my writing has to do with this concept of good and evil and what it means and the effect that each has, and very philosophical about it. But if it's not fun, it doesn't matter. And I'm never preaching. If you get something out of it, it's probably something I had in there. But, I tell my students, if you're writing a moral, you're going to bore the shit out of people. Tell a story.
Yeah.
Tell a great story and let them get what they get out of it. If you're writing for a clear moral, and the moral of the story is, well, now you're preaching. You're not storytelling. And I refuse to preach.
That's cool.
Yeah. I really think that's for, younger kids anyways, that's where the moral stuff, not morality itself, but teaching morals and so forth. That's for kids' limericks and those stories of kids who are sort of still forming that. By the time you're an adult, you kind of have that stuff in hand. For good, for better or for worse, you're not going to be changing any ideas, right? So why sit and try to preach to someone? There's plenty of people out there already doing it. We're just here to have fun.
Yeah.
Life is hard. You deserve great entertainment. And that's all I want to put out.
That's awesome. Have you ever brought in any of the comics or the books or like the screenplays or anything that you've written to any of your classes?
You know, I have. I'm very careful about it. I had a professor in grad school who only assigned books he had written for us to read. Because he was getting guaranteed Barnes and Noble sales out of us, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to be about that, but there is another side, which is, you know, I want to put my money where my mouth is, and I tell my students, you can do this. You may not, you're not going to sound like me. I don't want you to sound like me. I want you to sound like you. But I'm telling you, you can be entertaining. Here's an example of me doing it. I show them our Kickstarter because I teach at a business college. So I want them to understand the business end of it as well. So when the Kickstarter comes on, I talk to them about how we built the Kickstarter, how it came along, how we're advertising it. And I'll teach, occasionally, I'll teach a short story that I wrote. I try and keep it to a minimal because I don't want it to be the About Me show. But at the other side of the coin is I do this. You know, they say with the old expression, those who can do and those who can't teach, right? I want Woody Allen brilliantly added to that. Those who can't teach Jim. But I practice what I preach. I want you to know that when I stand in front of the room, I'm not being false. But I'd rather show you all my influences. I'd rather show you all the greats. All, you know. So yes, I do this. Here's a sample. But let's talk about Dashiell Hammett. Let's talk about Raymond Chandler. Let's talk about all these great Ray Bradbury, one of my all-time favorites. You know, and that's sort of how I balance it out. So I sprinkle a little bit of me in, but that's just a regular guy can do this, guys. So come on, join the fun.
Yeah. And I mean, as the person that's done the thing, like you have the experience, like even, you know, just have it. Like I've always wanted to write stuff and I only started getting really serious about it in the last couple, like 2 years, maybe. And then I was like, okay, so like I wrote a thing, now what? And then I got it in front of somebody and they're like, we could tweak it. Like, let's work together and we can refine the idea. We can make it better. We can make it punchier. And it was like, oh, there's a lot that I didn't know about, like formatting stuff and then like page count. And you got to plan the like drop of the potato of like, you know, you got to make them want to turn the page and you want to make them do this. So like, how do you figure out that pacing? And that's what they mean by, you know, leading somebody on and leaving every page matters. And like, you don't know any of that stuff until like reading comics can only get you so far. And I've read plenty and I'm still like, I feel like I'm starting completely at ground zero, like total newbie. Cause I thought I knew how this thing worked. And now that I'm doing it, I'm like, this doesn't work at all. There's so much more to it. So like, you're the perfect person to be talking about how to convey a story without being preachy and like how to, you know, all of those things, like, cause you're doing it. So I don't know. I don't think I had a point, like a punchline there, but like, that's, I think you're very aware and able to bring in your own stuff and talk about it and talk through it. Cause you've got that experience.
If you go to our Kickstarter, you'll see that 3 of the tiers there are writing coaching with me because I have tellworthy.com, which is a writing coaching service, creative writing service I have. And that there are 2 tiers where James will look at your portfolio or look at your comic. And these, we put those there because in 2015, we were at exactly what you were talking about for 2 years ago. I love comics. I love writing. He loves drawing. He loves art. What the hell is a comic book? And it's like, well, duh, I've been reading them my whole life. I know what a comic book is. And that's learning about the page turn reveal, learning about pacing, learning about how much action do you need to show so that people know what's happening, how much is too much, right? If someone runs down the street, you don't need to draw every step, but I do need to know that he's running down the street and then he reaches the end, you know? So we offer that in our Kickstarter. You get Blood Valkyrie in Vegas on Kickstarter right now for like 13 more hours.
Yep. And it's linked in the description. So you can tap it 2 taps and you're there and you can check out the page.
But we've had a lot of people on the last campaign. We had somebody take us up on the full comic review. and they've held off. We're waiting for them to send it. I think they're finishing it up. But we're going to give them. We were both professors. We're going to give them the full help that we can, not because we're geniuses who have always known, but because we've made all the mistakes.
Yeah.
We've learned. I mean, James can tell you about the art journey of going from novels and screenplays to comics was shocking. And James had, going from single, what are they called? Single focus, single subject, single subject
illustrations.
Yeah. So, I mean, James can tell you about that. I won't speak for him, but we've learned a lot about that.
Yeah. So what was it like for you, James, like transitioning from, like, what kind of artwork were you doing until Christian came skipping in with his comics and happy deaths?
So, yeah, since I started illustrating again, like I always tell people I started drawing when I was 4, but when I really started taking it seriously again, I went to get my master's of illustration. Before that, I'd gotten an animation degree that was more of kind of like a graphic design animation degree. And I had been working on a lot of 3D stuff, but back in the old days, it was very hard to really put something together, especially on your own. You had to have a whole team of people to get anything done in the 3D world. I say back in the old days because now, with a lot of the technologies, stuff that I used to sweat over for weeks and weeks and weeks is now you just press a button and it happens.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny how that stuff works. But in 2012, I got my illustration degree and kind of reawakened my love for my love, and I don't even know if I call it a passion. I don't know. It's the only thing I can do well. I got the bug from my dad, who was also a designer and artist. He's more of a he did more graphic design jobs. He worked for the New York Times. When I got that bug back, I was doing like we said, a single, think about like a poster or something. There's a design aspect to a poster, and I used to teach this one. What's the acronym? Attention. Is it ARIA? I'm trying to remember it. Attention. ADIA. Attention. I'm drawing a blank right now. I've been in class for a while. So the first aspect of a poster is getting someone's attention from across the room. The second aspect is to get them. Oh yeah, that's what it was. Interest. Interest in what your poster is about. So someone from across the room will look at that Frazetta, and if that's turned into a poster, and they get a little closer, and they say, "Oh, this is about designing doilies." Someone's going to just walk away. So I got no interest in that. But when you get someone who's interested in that, then you go to the buy-in, which is they kind of buy into the idea, and then you're giving an action to them, which is website, or these days a QR code or something like that. So that's a pretty basic principle, and then you decide if you're going to do single subject or something like that, or in the Frazetta back there, it's a dual subject. I think the horse is just as important as Conan in there, right? So that's a whole different game than sequential animation, sequential drawing. And I was complete novice at that. The closest I had ever done to that would be chapter illustrations in a book, right? So chapter 1, this one, chapter 2, the other one, but those are more related to the chapters and what's in them themselves, as opposed to, all right, we're doing a movie in single pictures. I mean, the only other thing that I had that might have been close to that was storyboards, but the storyboarding that I did, with the exception of some kind of freebie frenzy sort of stuff when I was younger, was all just corporate nonsense, right? Selling a bottle of Coke or something wasn't really exciting. They paid the bills. So learning the sequential thing. Christian and I went through a big learning curve together. And I think that really helped, was having Christian, who's also my, my brother now, in brother from another mother. But he used to actually, when he would write his scripts, he would say, okay, this guy, in one panel, he walks in the room, he turns on the lights, he pulls out his book and starts reading. So yeah, and I would say back to him, I was like, dude, that's like 10 panels. And so we worked a lot on that, figuring out, just like what Christian said, what you do have to show and what you don't have to show in order to get the story across. And also, that there's sort of even in my artwork's almost kind of needlessly detailed, but in comics it's a minimalist media. You can get through, if you can get your really good drawings, you can really boil it down a lot and still have people understand. Or if you're intentionally, like a Bill Sienkiewicz or something, Sienkiewicz, he can wow you with his surrealism, right? And that's really the point of reading his stuff. I think that's where we go to it. It was a big learning curve. I would say, it probably took us 2 or 3 years to really get an idea of even what we were doing. We started off with a larger project. Then we kind of read up some on how it all works, and we started doing shorts, and I think that really helped. Actually, River was one of the longer shorts that we had done. So
it was a good break.
Yeah. So we started off doing smaller format stuff, and I think that really helped. And Christian was really involved in the Comic Jam, which is a place where people get teamed up to do one
pagers.
It's one pagers, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
One page comics. And I know Christian says nothing but good things about that, about helping him to maximize what he's writing and getting rid of all the superfluous stuff, all the stuff that you don't need to make a good comic, and that people aren't, if you start doing that stuff, they're just going to turn the pages faster to get to the real action anyways, right?
Right. James, I've actually never said this before because I never thought of it before, but we taught, listening to you, this just occurred to me, we really taught each other how to be storytellers, because the artist is as much, if not more, in the comic medium, the storyteller, than the writer. Because, one of the things I have to learn as a writer, or I had to learn as a writer, is I don't need to have the characters say what's happening because people are looking at it. Right. And coming from a novel and short story background, you got to describe everything. But so I have to put a panel description together. But you don't want to overwhelm the artist with a 14 paragraph panel description. I actually try and keep them to no more than 3 lines, preferably 2, my panel descriptions. And but James was talking about learning from me about the storytelling of a comic, but I learned from James the storytelling of the imagery and what I did and didn't need to say, because ultimately the storytelling that the reader of a comic is aware of is the artist's storytelling. And so I think that I'm in the catbird seat here as a writer. Every writer on the planet, every comic writer on the planet is looking for an artist to work with. And I didn't get an artist to work with. I got a partner. If I write something, he's gonna be involved in it. And we're going to work together, and we're going to work together like nobody's business. We're going to figure it out, and we're going to have fun with it. And I'm incredibly lucky. And I think that we've learned so much from each other that's been one of the great joys of Fugitive Poems, is that it's James and I just bouncing ideas around. Stripper Clip Sally came out of a bullshit session we had one night. And I was like, and he knows when I get the look in my eye and went, hold on, what's that thing you just said? And I'm like, I'm plotting already. And I know he's right there with me. And then we'll just keep talking it out. We have a Nazi werewolf story in volume 4 of Containment Breach, Monsters, Beasts, and Bastards. And that was the absolute most we had ever collaborated on the front end before it was written. I have very happily in my phone about 200 WhatsApp messages of us going back and forth about what the story is going to be, and then putting references in, like links to the Smithsonian magazine, links to a medical magazine, links to what if this is included. And I mean, it's the dream. It's the dream.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it's funny, like as you're describing this, so taking stuff seriously and getting more serious about writing, somebody reached out to me like, "Hey, I want to get more serious about art. And I know you've talked about on your show, like having ideas and writing, like, do you want to make a comic together?" And I was like, "Of course I do." And so like Punk Rock Chris, who was talking about the Crow soundtrack, like he is the one that I've been working with heavily since last September or October of like, we've done FaceTime videos together. Like we're in he's in Oklahoma, I'm in Ohio. So we're very far away, but like we're still texting regularly. Like at this point, my wife knows if I'm texting anybody on my phone after like 10:30 p.m., I'm talking to him because and she was like, "Are you talking to Chris again?" I'm like, yeah. We're doing like we're working out these details of this one thing. That's adorable. Good night.
Sorry, Chris.
No, you're good.
Ariel, who's my boy Zachary. Hi, Dad. Okay, get up to bed. I'll come and check on you. Good bud, go. I'm on the show. I'm live.
But yeah, like, working with Chris, like we've done the same thing where we're sending pictures back and forth to each other. We're, spitballing ideas and like, oh, wait, we need to capture that in our Google Doc together so that we can like parse that out later and come back to it. And it just like, it is a very unique working relationship, friendship, tighter than anything else bond that you develop with those people that you're working with, because then like we joke all the time, like, oh no, we're just same braining because we have the same idea with where we should go with this direction or that direction or whatever. So I love that that's exactly what you guys are experiencing too. It makes me feel a little less crazy of like, how is this possible?
Chris, that puts you and me and James and Punk Rock Chris in a rare position, because it's not something to take for granted. It's not like an artist reached out to me and we're going to one brain it. I mean, that's a godsend. That's ridiculous. That doesn't happen. And finding that, I mean, I think of the years that James and I, as he said hi to each other in the hallway. I had no idea that this was the other side of my brain. This was the dude that was going to make. So it's amazing that you and Punk Rock Chris got this, someone reached out to you that was an artist. And first of all, was a good artist. A lot of people, I'm an artist, and then you see the stuff and you're like, right? But then it was in your head. So you got as lucky as I did in that. It's not something to take for granted. And I'll tell people out there who want to do this, it's not something to settle on. If it's not exactly right, it's not. It doesn't mean you shouldn't work with people. Work with as many people as you can. You might put a great comic out with somebody, but you'll know when that click is there that's your person. And it's got to be that there's that give and take of ideas, that back and forth. And to go back to what we were talking about earlier, that you're having fun. If it's not fun, fuck it. I mean, that's it. There's no point to it, because we're weekend warriors. We're doing this. This isn't, we're not getting paid a salary weekly to show up 9 to 5. We're doing this because we love it. And if you're doing it and not loving it, something is wrong. And a lot of that has to do with the people that you work with. So I'm so happy to hear that about you and Punk Rock Chris. That's awesome.
Yeah. It's like almost every day that we talk, it's like, dude, how are we making comics? Like, how is this real life? Like every step of the way, it was like, how did we just write a script together? Like how, and then he started, hey, I've got this panel done. I'm like, dude, how did you, like, that's exactly how I pictured it. How are we doing this? And so like, everything is that pinch me moment. Yeah. And like, I never want to lose that feeling. And I'm just like, dude, why am I even working? Like, I would just want to do this it's so rewarding. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I got to pay my mortgage and my house.
And your wife walks in the room, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah.
She's just sitting on the couch, just. Okay.
Honey, I made a great comic today. That's great. Go to work.
Yeah, that's cute. Maybe you can take that to the bank and use that to pay the house. Okay, all right, babe. No, she's super supportive. I always paint her in a dark light, but she's super supportive and like, is totally okay with me being on my phone texting somebody at 11:30 at night, and she's never has to question anything. She's just like, "You go Oklahoma?" I'm like, "Yeah, Oklahoma." She's like, "I knew it. I knew it." So, all right. So with Blood Valkyrie in Vegas, to re-hit this, you've got 81 backers. You got 13 hours to go. You've got, you're already at goal. We already mentioned it, but you hit it in 48 hours, which is outstanding. I love Kickstarter's thing where if you follow people, you see what they back. And a couple people that I follow have backed your project. As I was not stalking you, Christian, but doing my social media research and looking at Kickstarter, we've backed a ton of the same comics. Like a ton. I didn't even bother writing them down because I was like, oh, we backed this one. Oh, and that one. And that. Oh my God. Wait, hang on a second. Yep. 3, 5, 7. No, okay. All right. Okay. Yeah. We're this. Okay, cool. We have the same taste in comics. Perfect. So I love like what's the like production of Blood Valkyrie so far? Like where are you at? What's the estimated time frame? And then like what comes next for Fugitive?
All right, so Blood Valkyrie in Vegas, which, and I don't think I've said this yet, is a story of a Vegas showgirl in 1973 who is invited by the head of the casino hotel to his exclusive penthouse party. She gets up there and the party goes wrong real fast. And it turns out that she is surrounded by demons that want her soul, led by this guy Shact, who is one of Satan's lieutenants on Earth. And she has got to fight to survive. She's trying to save her best friend. But there are, Alex Zapata drew over 100 completely unique demons. In my set, I try to be nice to the artist, and I'm like, dude, they can look the same. The demons can look the same. That's fine. Put as many of them as you want per frame. The key is that she feels surrounded and unsafe. You want to make 5, you want to make 6, you want to make 3 on top of it. That's fine. Well, he said no. Over 100, complete. Not one looks the same. Jeez. And I don't mean like little tiny changes. I mean like vastly different designs. Unbelievable. And she's fighting her way through with almost no hope of survival, trying to save her friend. And then appears this ancient, bloodthirsty being. And the question is she there to help or to cause further harm? And the comic is page 1, introduction, page 2, weird party, page 3, full, or page 4, 5, full orgy, and then blood, fighting, nonstop action, blenderized gore factory grindhouse. Fill the last page. It is badass, and I'm not tooting my own horn here. I'm proud of the story. I'm very proud of the story. But I'm talking Alex Zapata and Tom Lynett. Lynett did the lettering, and it's part of the fabric of the story. It's beautiful. It just goes. And what I wanted to write was a nonstop action grindhouse horror, and it just goes. And I'm so honored that Alex did this, and I'm so honored that James did the cover, which is one of the most badass things he has ever done. Completely captured the spirit of the book and absolutely brought this Blood Valkyrie to life on the cover. It is gorgeous. And the book is done. So if you go to Kickstarter right now and go to Fugitive Poems, Blood Valkyrie in Vegas, you click on it, you order it. We got 13 hours left. Let's get this rolling. Let's get more of it going. Let's end big. If you order any of the, we've got some incredible reward tiers. You can get River issue 1 with it. You can get Containment Breach, the anthology series, with it. You can get a cameo in a comic, which is one of our most popular offerings every campaign. We've got a bunch of people drawn into our comics. If you go and get it now, when Kickstarter gives us the money, which is generally 2 weeks after the end, we go to print. We're going to print. It's done. It's made. The interiors are done. The exteriors are done. It's going to Comics Wellspring, who does a great job. They turn it around fast. We have always fulfilled every one of our campaigns. We send them safe and sexy to you, and you get them quick. We usually fulfill within a week of my receipt of the books. We're generally fulfilled.
Yeah,
That's wild.
Yeah.
I think the longest delay we had was actually related to the printer itself.
Yeah.
One of their machines had gone down. But even that one, we're not like the typical Kickstarter people, like, oh, well, you'll get your thing, and then 2 years later, and you've forgotten you've even followed it, and that's if you get them at all. We have never done that. We never will. This will be our sixth? This is our sixth or fifth?
Fifth or sixth.
I think this is the sixth one, and we always try to have it near completed or completed. I mean, the only thing that is left is just because we've been working on other projects is the book layout, but that's something that's about 20 hours or so worth of work. So that's like on a weekend. So
Yeah.
You'll be getting your stuff very quickly.
Yeah. And we're gonna lay out before we get the money, so that when we get the money, we can go.
Yeah, you're ready.
Because again, we have everything together. Let me give you the perfect Fugitive Poems instant gratification cocktail right now. You go to Kickstarter, back Blood Valkyrie in Vegas. This way you know it's coming. Then you jump over to Fugitive Poems and you subscribe to Dirty Living by Stephen Betcha and Ryan Santos. You will instantly, at that very second, get issue 1. And within the week, get issue 2. So this is, and it's only $2.99 an issue for Dirty Living. So go get Blood Valkyrie in Vegas. You know that you got that coming, something to look forward to, and then go grab your copies of Dirty Living, and you're going to have a great time with that. That's my recommendation for a lonely Wednesday night. Rainy where I am.
That's awesome. That's perfect. James, I want you to show off that Red Sonja Conan piece that you said that you found before.
I thought it was lost, but I'm just completely disorganized. I had it in a pile where I didn't expect it to be. So this is something I've been working on.
That's crazy.
This is the pencils, obviously. I wanted to do something unique as far as, like we said, storytelling. This is a single panel storytelling. So I got Red Sonja here, who is sort of holding up a decapitated head and making him make a funny face. And she's sort of aping the funny face, and Conan finds it very entertaining.
That's awesome. And
I've been spending a lot of time. I don't know if there's any artists out there. It takes a long time to get all these bodies to look correct on the bottom. So that's where I'm still working. But the story was, like I said, I had lost this, and I was very upset because usually at some point I'll scan it, and then if I lose it, then it's just a matter of kind of taking a look at the digital one and kind of redoing it. That's pretty quick. Yeah. But I hadn't scanned this one yet, so I was very upset. And I spent a lot of time on these poses, trying to get them to look sort of nonchalant amongst the all the dead.
That's cool.
So I'm real proud of this one.
Yeah, that's something about James. He just mentioned he wanted to do something he hadn't seen before, and this intimate, albeit twisted moment between Red Sonja and Conan in gleefully looking over the slaughter that they've created is something that James does with his art. Is it's often from a perspective that you haven't seen or thought about before, right? When you think Red Sonja Conan, you think badass, you think serious, but he came up with this moment, this intimate, fun moment. He did the same thing recently. Look at that. Single panel storytelling with that much detail is not easy. Kudos for that. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
He did an incredible picture of Jason. He wanted to draw Jason. But he didn't want to draw the same, standing in the rain with the machete thing that everybody draws. He shows me what he came up with. And I'm like, dude, I've never seen this before. It's Jason. Do you have it? It's Jason from the point of view of a dying victim.
Oh.
And it's a first person point of view. You could only see that person's hands in the frame. And he's looking down, impaled. And Jason is holding up this implement he's impaled him with. And this is what one of the reasons that I think James and I click so much is that both of us are always looking for that other angle. And he does it so spectacularly with his art. And hopefully he can grab it and show you. I every show that we do, people go straight up to that Jason and they're like, never thought of that. Never even thought of that. What would it be like if for you, Jason's the last thing you see? Look at that.
Oh, that's dope. Dude, that's so awesome. It's got the attention, it's got the interest, it's got the buy-in of like, oh no, yeah, yeah.
Desire. That's what I was looking for. Desire and action. Yeah. But this one, like I said, like Christian said, every Jason illustration you see, it's all just him kind of badass in the rain holding his hatchet, right? I didn't want to just draw another one of those.
Yeah.
I really wanted to kind of bring you in the story. So hopefully in this one you can feel the tines of the pitchfork in your gut.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And it's always fun, I think, to try and find that unique perspective or that different angle or that different approach. Because that's oftentimes what does stand out. Like if you have that at your booth next to 7 other artists that have Jason doing the menacing standing in the rain or the lightning backlighting him or whatever, like 9 times out of 10, I think I would walk up to the different one just because it's like, hang on, how did you even come up with that? So like, that's just from an eye-catching perspective, like it's differentiating your work from the rest of the pack per se. And like, I think that's a killer piece, pun intended. So, okay. So those are all of the notes, but I'm not done with you guys yet. I have 2 more things to do. The first is super easy. I'm going to take a screenshot. We're going to pose and I'm going to use that as the YouTube thumbnail. And I will get my keyboard shortcut here. And then we're going to pose on the count of 3. I look terrified because you're terrifying people. Terrifyingly cool. 3, 2, 1. Cool. And then the other thing that I like doing, and I warned you so you can't say I took you off guard, is I love doing this show because it connects me with all of these indie creators that have all different backgrounds, all different walks of life, but somehow we all find ourselves in the indie comics community. And so I just want to take a moment I'm going to stop talking. I'll turn the mic over to you. You can fight to the death for who gets to talk first. But I just want to hear from you what you have for anybody that might be watching this live or listening or watching in the future. It could be a sales pitch for like, hey, go back Blood Valkyrie in Vegas. It could be about why Freddy is a more interesting slasher than Michael Myers. The content of it doesn't matter to me. It's just that I want to have a chance for both of you to be able to give a message directly to anybody that might be checking this episode out.
James, you got this, or should I jump?
You can go first.
All right, first thing I'm going to shill, not my thing, and then I got something else to say. We've kind of circled around my man Casey Allen talking about the one-page comics. Casey Allen and Dan Price have Bigfoot Knows Karate 3 on Kickstarter. Casey Allen is a dear friend of mine. He's also a tremendous writer. Dan is an incredible artist, and together they've created this great series. Kickstarter, Blood Valkyrie in Vegas, 24 pages of the most amazing kills ever. You want to talk about kills? Blood Valkyrie in Vegas. Then hop over to Bigfoot Knows Karate and get your share of that. So that's my shill. I think I want to jump back to something we talked about earlier. you want to create, do it. I have a creative writing services company because someone asked me to create it. They asked me to create a company because they wanted to keep writing and they needed someone to be accountable to. And I get that. But nothing's stopping you from just writing down your ideas, just starting to draw. Just get it out there. If it's no good, that's great because you're getting it out of the way. I tell people with I don't know what to write. I say, you know what? Start out by writing one shit page a day. That's my big professional writing advice. Write one shit page a day. And you look at it and say, yeah, this is shit. And you put it aside. Eventually, it's going to stop being shit. Eventually, because you're going to get all the thoughts out. Just create. If you want to create, create. And if you're not a creative, please consume. Go find the stuff that gives you joy. If you want to give joy and you're a creator, just start doing it and putting it. Just make it real. Until you've done it. Sometimes I'll sit down and write a short story out of nowhere, and I think to myself, well, an hour ago this didn't exist in the universe. Do it. And if you love entertainment, consume and look for the people who are doing it outside of the big systems. Because there's incredible indie stuff out there. People not hampered by the rules and regulations of mainstream companies that are coming up with great ideas. So follow what you love, do what you love, find what you're gonna love, and back Blood Valkyrie in Vegas because you're gonna love it.
Nailed that pitch. Hook, line, and sinker, my friend. James, I see you're hunting over there.
Yeah, I lost my my river copy here.
Oh.
Sorry, I had to go downstairs and console my dog. He's like he's pissed off because we've run into his walk time. I would say as my final thought for people out there that I'm sure are going to be watching this who maybe want to be writers or artists or something in the comic world. The biggest one thing that I can say is get your ass out there, meet someone who's of the opposite, whether it's the writer or the artist, and collaborate. I can't tell you the amount of this even includes my previous work before comics and so forth. I've grown so much as an artist because of the collaboration aspect and being forced to do things that I would have been uncomfortable drawing earlier. If you know and you're already a comic artist, you have to literally draw anything and everything. You never know what's going to be in a scene or something. So I've drawn so much stuff and I've come so far from that. And I think a lot of that is the collaboration. Get your I'll talk from the point of view of an artist. Get your art out of the closet and out into the world, and find someone or someone's to work with. That's the most important thing. Come and support Fugitive Poems. We have a lot of stuff for sale on our website. We have everything that is available in digital copies. Christian was talking about instant gratification. Anyone who's under 30, I know that's all you read. It's the only way you read anyways. So you can get all our books tonight, and for what was it, $25? You can get our entire collection of stories and read through them. Particularly our Containment Breach series they're not one night reads. There's a lot of stories packed in there, a lot of different things. There's something in there for everyone. It's not all. Christian and I are very sort of grindhouse, dark humor, gore, and so forth. But we got a ton of other artists in those books that do all kinds of very different stuff, literally from all over the world.
Yeah.
Artists, writers put together in unfamiliar situations on shaky ground and forced to come up with something good and unique if they want to be in the book.
Yeah.
We got a lot of cool stuff, more cool stuff coming. Support indie comics. It's very important. If you're into the Cape stories and so forth. That's cool. But intermix, mix in some of our stuff in there as well. Not just us, any comic person out there that you're interested in. It's a cool, unique art form, which I think needs to stay alive, and frankly needs an enema as well. Some people will call it a dying industry. We recently found out that there's only like 2,300 comic book stores out there in the entire nation. It's freaking nuts. Before I was told that, I probably would have guessed maybe that was New England, but that's the entire country. So, don't let it die. And I really think that independent comics are the future for that. I'm going to shill our good friend Phil Russert, who is newly into distributing comics. He's the one that actually gave us the information about the 2,300 comic book stores. This crazy fucker went out and individually contacted each one of these comic stores, and it is pretty much single-handedly trying to pick up the slack that Diamond has left, and he's full on into distribution now. He's recently signed a whole bunch of kind of groups like ours or companies like ours, whatever you want to call it, as well as some individual artists. You can find him on, I think he's biggest on Facebook. Philbo Distribution. His name is Phil Russert. Two S's and two
T's.
Two T's. Two S's and two T's.
There's two R's. There's a lot of extra letters in there, frankly.
Yeah. He's a great guy. I was talking about mentors. He'll laugh if he hears this, but he was definitely one of our mentors. He's a very humble guy, but we met him at a con, and he's taught us so much about the business side of comics. And if you're interested in distribution, which we are, he's looking for people that are at a certain not caliber, but a certain way down the path. Basically, if you can provide a monthly serial to him, so that's no small task. But if you can provide a monthly serial to him, he's just distributing out. I think he's working nationally now, but I mean, eventually I think it's going to be internationally. So Philbo Distribution, Philbo. What's the other one that he has?
The Philbo Publishing is his big company.
Oh, Philbo Publishing, right? And like I said, Phil Russert, he's mostly on Facebook. So he's doing it. He's one of the guys. He's going to bring us all out of the woodwork as well, as far as getting us out into the wild.
That's awesome. Well, gents, this has been a ton of fun. I'm glad that we were able to make the scheduling work. I don't know how long we've been trying to do it, Christian, but we made it. So I appreciate you guys hopping on, just sharing your experience and your perspectives. Like, that's why I love doing this show. So for everybody that sounded off in the comments, it makes it more interactive, and that makes it more fun for us. So thank you. If you liked it, share this on social media, follow, like, subscribe, whatever. I don't care about my numbers. I'm doing this because I love comics. So I hope that you love them too. What's a good podcast without a good tagline? This is mine. Go do what's good for you, punks, and read some indie comics, because we are out of here.